Why Zen? What's Zen? How Zen? That's what came to me just as I came into this talk, thinking what to talk about. So why Zen? It's actually the question Shoen asked Gakyo earlier today, why do we do this? So I kind of cut to the chase as I see it, cut to the bone. Our human condition is problematic. Human condition is problematic. The first noble truth of Buddhism, as many of you might know, is that life is dukkha. Human life is dukkha. This word dukkha is usually translated as suffering. So life is suffering. I don't like this translation. Okay. I think a better translation, which is literal, is insufficiency or lack. Right? So human life, the human condition, is permeated by a sense of lack. Human condition is problematic. There's something off. There's something off. So what is it? What is it that's off? We can look at this. And the sages, men and women over the years, spiritual seekers, including us, have applied ourselves to this question to look at what is it. And I think we've got some good wisdom on what it is that's causing this offness. Right? This offness, cats don't have it, dogs don't have it, trees don't have it, mice don't have it, birds don't have it, stones don't have it. Humans have it. Well, what do we have that they don't have? This very sophisticated neocortex that's evolved to create a remarkable ability to have abstract thought and language. And this incredible ability that we've developed, mental facility that we've developed, has allowed us to do amazing things, to connect with each other, really intimately, to create civilization, to create technology, to thrive and be abundant and solve diseases, and all of this amazing things that the human spirit and imagination have managed to accomplish. But it's come along with this habit that we have of creating a certain self-sense about who we are. We can call it ego, we can call it egoic consciousness. Okay. But the way that we've developed what we create out of our sensory experience, our 6 senses, the 5 that we learn in school, and then thought, the thinking mind, which in Buddhism is considered a 6th sense, what we do with that becomes problematic. Okay, so that's the heart of it. That's the heart of it right there. Why do we practice is because of this problem in the human condition that has to do with how we've evolved our consciousness, or one aspect of our consciousness. Yeah. So over the tens of thousands of years in which this consciousness evolved, probably right along with that, but certainly in the last many thousands of years, this way of being figured out that there's ways to kind of get back to the heart, the root, the true nature of who we are. Because we were all babies once. That affliction that we have of this egoic consciousness, they don't have it. Right? So we know it. It's in us. It really is in us right now. Where would it go? Where would it go? Where could it go? It's still here. It's just been covered over, by this other form of consciousness. So it's all this extra stuff that we add, right? So we figured out that there actually is a way to get back in touch with this true nature, this originary, unitary consciousness. Because one of the things that this false consciousness, you could say, does is it creates separation between ourselves and other beings in the universe. So, to recover that, to restore that, meditation is the primary practice, to do that, which is so simple, ultimately. Just sit and be. Okay? Apply this power of your attention. And it's worth saying that attention is power. Attention, what you give attention to, you give energy to. What you give attention to, you could even say you give love to. Attention, I like to say attention is like the first kiss of love. It's the first touch of love. It's just to even pay attention to something or someone. The first little touch of intimacy is right there. So when we give that kind of attention, that quality, intimate attention to ourselves, to our inner world, we're giving energy to that, and then it starts to come alive. It starts to come alive, and we start to see what's going on and what's getting in the way of it. We start to feel ourselves at a deeper level. We start to be sensitive to the outside world in a deeper way. Okay. So but there's all sorts of layers and interconnections in all of this conceptual egoic stuff that we have. And it's worth saying that, we have these ideas and these concepts get embodied. It's like trauma, almost. Yeah. Is that our belief systems get embodied and then kind of put below the level of our awareness. We're no longer aware of the source of our beliefs. Right? Are we aware of the source of our belief that we're separate? We might sort of have an idea of it, but it seems kind of distant or abstract. That's an embodied belief. Because the babies don't have it. Right? The babies don't have it, we do. We think they're naive, they just haven't learned yet. But actually we've forgotten what they know. So it's in here. It's in here. And the practice is a practice of self-study. So Zen Master Dogen said to study Buddhism is to study the self. It's quite a radical statement, I've never heard it said, although perhaps some other, religious teachers probably do say this in other religions. Maybe to study Christianity is to study the self, to study Islam is to study the self. I think there's definitely Christian and Islamic, teachers and mystics who feel that way. But it's right at the heart of Buddhism, actually. To study Buddhism is to study the self. Of course, it's a Zen teacher who's saying that. So Zen is the focal practice for this. To study Buddhism is to study itself. So there's no talk of God. There's no even talk of spirit. Right? It's like we study the self. Well, what do we find when we study the self? Yeah, what do we find? What is in there? What is in here? What is manifesting? What is alive? Who are we? Who am I? That's it. And that's the problematic nature of the human condition, is just pointing us to that. Okay, if we can find that, we resolve that problematic aspect of the human condition. We do. Okay, but that's just me sitting up here telling you that. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. It's like, you know, here, I've got your medicine right here. just read about it and you'll be fixed. No. No. You know, many of you have heard the, they don't want to have anything to do with this. It's like, this guy is so boring. We're out of here. We're going to go play. Many of you have heard the, you know, kind of the metaphor. There's reading the menu and then there's eating the meal. So every one of us, because we're all, you know, none of us grew up in a Buddhist household, I don't think. We read the menu first. So we read about it, and then it sounds good, and we read more, and then we read more, and we read a lot about the menu and all the different dishes, you know, available at this restaurant. Buddhism. But then we have to eat the meal in order to really be nourished by it, in order to meet the problematic nature of our human condition as we're experiencing it. Right? Really take the medicine. And that's what the practice is. So we get drawn to something like this, an introduction to Zen, introduction to meditation, and then we start to feel it. Ah, okay, we might have a glimpse. So Zen is a practice. You know, the word Zen just means meditation, right? It's the Japanese translation of the Chinese word Chan, which is a translation of the Sanskrit word dhyana, you know, which just means meditation. So Zen means meditation. Zen Buddhism is meditation Buddhism. Zazen is sitting meditation. So it's a meditative practice, but it's also a kind of full-featured, 360-degree spiritual path. Right? And the practice of meditation is kind of one part of it. So the three parts that we talk about are the three jewels, the three treasures, the three refuges of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, which is practice, teachings, and community. Okay? To really be on the spiritual path is to work with all three. Right? You're really working with all three. And it's a beautiful kind of integrated path because you're practicing and you're meditating and you're expanding your consciousness and your awareness, and you're coming up against difficult things and blissful things, and like, what the hell is going on? Well, we have the Dharma. That's the teaching part. Okay, that is the abstract, conceptual understanding that has come through generations of teachers, starting with the historical Buddha in our lineage. But there's many other hundreds and thousands of other spiritual teachers in other traditions who have talked about the exact same things. The spiritual laws of the universe and how our self, creation, and our self-nature is consistent with it. And by the universe, I also mean time and space. Babies don't experience linear time the way we do. That's just one dimension, one limited dimension of time. So, what's going on? What's going on here? The Dharma gives us good understanding of what's going on here. Oh, okay. This is one body. Deep spiritual truths. We are one body. We are all interconnected, but we are all separate too. This relative dimension is completely real, and the absolute dimension at which we're all connected is also completely real. And there's very specific, sophisticated, I was going to say sophisticated, ways in which, you know, those interact, those intersect. The relative and the absolute. So we learn about the Dharma, and then, oh, that's what's going on in my practice. Oh, I'm going to practice some more of what's going on. Oh, wow. Okay. Expansion. Okay, we experience time differently. We experience our bodies differently. We experience other people differently. We experience ourselves differently. That's the most important thing. Right? And then we get confused and we get muddy and we get distracted for a minute or a day or a year or a decade, maybe. So, problematic human condition, feeling it again. Practice, Dharma. Okay, learn, experience, learn, grow, expand. Sangha. Sangha where it's all happens. Sangha is where it all happens. We read the Dharma, we sit, insight. Yes, of course, that's how I'm creating that. We go have lunch with our Dharma brother. And he fucking pisses you off. What the fuck? That was the last cookie, I wanted that. You already had one. Where'd the wisdom and compassion go? That's just a tiny version, right, of that, right? How about meeting, like, you know, your political adversaries or the person who just broke up with you and just hurt, you know, really hurt you? You know, where's that? It's a sophisticated world we live in. Sometimes those work. That one doesn't work. Complex. You know, it's a complex world. In the technical sense, it's a complex system. We live with, you know, the self is a complex system. Complexity theory, actually, defines. It's not linear systems. You know, there are emergent phenomena that happen within ourselves and within society and within groups. You know, we can't totally understand what's going on. So we have to live it. We live it and we learn it. And it's a path, it's a way that works. You know, I mean, millions of people over thousands of years, you know, follow a path like this, which has a practice and a teaching and a form of community or form of collective practice, life, that alchemizes nature in the human system. And then this predicament of the human condition, it turns into something remarkable. I mean, it already is something remarkable, actually, I should say. You know, we say Zen, we learn to appreciate the extraordinariness of the ordinary. Yeah? Because it's right here. It's right here. We learn to appreciate every little moment, every little experience, every little feeling. Yeah, in its extraordinariness and in its mystery. Its openness. Okay, let's reach the end of what wanted to be said. There. So let's talk some. Let's talk.